All right, we'll call this special city council meeting and public hearing to order. The purpose of this meeting today is to conduct a public hearing in reference to the tax increment financing district, or the TIF district as commonly called. We were contacted by in regards to what we were referred to as the Alexander Baker project. Roughly 3 months ago, we have worked with Mary Ipple and Northland Public Finance to get us to this point today. With that being said, we'll just go right into the meeting and we will have the representatives discuss specific things. First, we have Jessica Green, and I see that we have her on our online format from Northland Securities. Could you go through the memo from Northland and the draft TIF plan?
Sure. Mayor, Council, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So Jessica Green filling in tonight for my colleague Tammy Umdahl. My plan, if it's okay with Mayor and Council, is to really sort of dive into the memo and not spend a lot of time within the TIF plan, as it is quite lengthy and really designed to comply with statute. That said, the highlights of the TIF plan are noted in that memo, so I'll talk through those. But of course, at the end of that, if we do want to dive into the plan itself, happy to do that. So, Mayor, as you mentioned, the city has received an application from Alex Baker Limited Partnership a few months back with a request for financing assistance related to the construction of an affordable 27-unit low-income housing tax credit multifamily rental housing development, which is how we sort of refer to that as the project. In this case, the housing units would be restricted to residents earning 30% to 60% or less of the area median income, with that median income being $66,900 as provided by HUD for 2021. Our understanding of the project is that the total construction would be about $11.6 million, and that proposed development would occur on an existing parcel or sort of carved out of that parcel. So as we understand it, there will be a new PID that will be issued, and along with that, a new legal description. Because that's going to take some time and that won't occur until all of the different financing pieces, which we'll talk about in just a moment, are sort of underway and approved. This is really just tonight considering the TIF district establishment, not the actual development agreement that would go along with the development. This is just providing for the authority to use TIF should the city undertake a development agreement at a later date. So the application itself included a request for $30,000 over a 15-year term for a total of $450,000 over that term again. We did take a look at the information that was provided by the developer in terms of the land acquisition costs, the construction costs, associated fees, et cetera, and we find that to be within industry standards. Going on to page 2, the initial request, as we understand it, was that the developer was seeking tax abatement assistance. The city has already authorized abatement in an amount that does not allow for additional abatements to be issued to support this project to the degree that it has been requested. With that, the city is able to consider increment financing here, as this is an affordable project, which is common to see as a housing district. So that's why we're here tonight for the public hearing to consider the establishment of a TIF housing district. Now, after looking through the information provided by the developer, it is Northland's opinion that the project as proposed is feasible only through assistance, in part from TIF. There are other financing sources that will be sought by the developer, including low-income housing tax credits and historic tax credits as well. We won't know the outcome of those approvals for those housing tax credits for quite some time. So something to keep in mind there. Again, what we're considering tonight is just the establishment of the district, not the approval of that development agreement, which would govern what the city supplies back to the developer in terms of assistance. That being said, in looking at the pro forma, again, Northland's opinion here is that without assistance, that this project is not financially feasible. There are a number of bullet points that you can see on page 3, and these are sort of the high-level points associated with the development itself. So again, a 27-unit rental apartment building with affordable units, so income restrictions ranging from 30 to 60% of the area median income. In terms of financing tools, again, we are looking at TIF as a funding source, but also low-income housing tax credits and then state and federal historic tax credits, along with sales tax and energy rebates. The maximum duration here would be 15 years of increment collected from the district, with a total amount to be received of $30,000 per year with a not to exceed amount of $450,000. The increment would be provided on a pay-go basis, and what's important to note there is if the taxes are not paid on the property, there is no reason for the city to then provide reimbursement to the developer. So that is the pay-go portion here. The first year of increment would be collected in 2025 and then continue each February 1st and August 1st out through 2040. There will be no interest computed on the payments to the developer, and no minimum assessment agreement will be sought here. The taxable market value is estimated to be $3,861,000 with the taxes payable 2025, with all taxes to the various jurisdictions estimated at $42,394. Now, the last bullet point here that's noted is that the future value of that site is anticipated to be $3,950,253, and that is compared to the future value of the site without this project, which is estimated $49,811. Final pieces here, just a few resolutions for your consideration later on the agenda. So you've got the resolution that would establish TIF District 1-4. You have a resolution that would provide and authorize an interfund TIF loan that would allow the city to reimburse itself for any sort of administrative costs that are incurred prior to that increment in. And then you also have a resolution of support, which will be provided back to Minnesota Housing as the developer is seeking those housing tax credits. As I mentioned, just the final 2 points here. So again, tonight, just looking tonight for the council to consider the establishment of the district. A development agreement would come before the council at a later date once the final terms and the funding mix are determined and once a legal description for the proposed property was available along with the new property ID. With that, I am happy to take any questions that the council may have on the memo or on the TIF plan prior to the council opening the hearing.
Members of the council, do you have any questions regarding the TIF district? I have one question. If tonight the only thing we're looking at doing is creating the TIF district, and then we're ultimately going to be waiting for those low-income tax credits and the historic tax credits to come in, what happens to the TIF district in the event that the financing doesn't come in the future? Is that just a new district, or does it go by the wayside in the long run?
That's a great question. So that would be up to the developer. So if they weren't able to secure those tax credits, it is likely that the project may not be feasible without some other type of funding source or assistance. It's not a situation where, TIF can be created or that we can increase that. That's limited to what the property will actually support. So they would likely need to look elsewhere for some way to sort of fill that gap. If it were the case that the tax credits could not be secured and that the total funding mix just didn't work, essentially we just wouldn't certify the district. So it would just kind of go away. But yes, so we would just be looking to establish the district this evening if there is support for it by council. But it's the development agreement in the future that would really govern what is provided back to the developer.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions that the council has? All right, hearing none, then I will open for public input. At this point, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on behalf or against the taxing district, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, and we will listen to your input.
Isaac Meyer with Kutaska Community Action, Grand Rapids resident.
Is the microphone on? I never know. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
I wanted to come and speak in support of this TIF district. I have been working with many local organizations through our work at Kutaska Community Action with the Couchiching County Housing Collaborative for many years, as well as the good folks at Citizens for Bacchus. And we are really proud to be here at the point we are this year. There's been a lot of time and work put in to try to bring in some additional housing in our community. We did apply for funding last year, and unfortunately we're unsuccessful. Due to some changes in the state's rules and requirements, we are now at a position where we, as Jessica was so kind to put it, are in need of TIF in order to make the project a reality. And your support would be that really final key piece to be able to make this happen. We are very confident this year in our scoring and our hope to compete at Minnesota Housing and receive those credits, and hopefully bring a long-term dream of the folks at Citizens for Bacchus and many others who have worked to preserve those buildings to fruition. And would be here for any questions if you have any, but also want to thank you all for your time put into this and housing generally in the community. We know this is not the only thing happening, but are very glad to have it happening.
Right. Does anyone have any questions for him? All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I actually missed the part where, can I add a comment?
Yeah.
I know that it's passed. I'm just going to say that I fully support this all the way around. If you look at it logically and if you look at the numbers, this is a way that we can help bring this project to fruition, and it truly costs us nothing. If this project doesn't happen, the Alexander Baker property is worth $49,000. So if we don't support this and the project doesn't happen, we're going to collect $1,000 a year in taxes, like if even. And I think that's between the two properties, is it not? Thank you, Isaac. So if this happens, we will still potentially collect some taxes, and it's going to go up. And then obviously at the end of the 15-year period, then we will collect all of those taxes. So in the long run, looking at 2040, which is the closing of the TIF, at that point, you're setting the city up for a boost in taxes. So it doesn't technically cost. It's not money that we're currently making. So it doesn't cost us anything right now to say, hey, this is great. We can help. This is how we can help. We're not putting any money into the project, but this is how we can help. I think this is a win for everybody, to be brutally honest with you.
Well, thanks for being brutally honest with us.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else want to come forward in support or against the project? All right. Then, not hearing no one coming forward, I will close the public hearing. So, council members, before you do have a series of resolutions for us to work with this evening.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
Point of order. Doesn't it take a council action to close the public hearing?
Well, maybe.
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Excellent choice, guys. We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Comments? I'd just like to point out, for public hearings, I have to close that by resolution. We don't have to other times, so the procedures are just different. All right. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question.
Aye. 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 Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 5-0 to close the public hearing. Thank you, Joe.
Welcome.
All right. So next we do have the resolutions that are before us. The first resolution would be the resolution establishing the tax increment financing housing district number 1 through 4. Chair would entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Councillor Holden. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councillor Deitch. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the next resolution authorizing an interfund loan for advance of certain costs in connection with tax increment financing, district number 1 through 4. Chair would entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councillor Bowler. Thanks. It's my day off. We don't usually have meetings on the fourth Monday of the month. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councillor Kraus. Discussion? Hearing none, call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 5-0. And then final one to tonight is the resolution consenting to the process for the creation of the Housing Tax Increment Financing District in support of the Alexander Baker, not Banker, Limited Partnership Housing Project.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councillor Kraus. We have a second by Councillor Holden. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 5-0. Since this is a special city council meeting and there's no other items on the agenda, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.